Welcome, wonderful people, to the Sunday Rune and Card reading. I'm Jenny Florence. Guys, welcome back to anyone who is already following my readings and anyone who's a part of this amazing community that we are building here on YouTube. And welcome to anyone who is new. So before I begin the readings, I want to just tune in, because clearly we are going through a major period of accelerated growth that is throwing us in many ways into quite a space of, I'm going to say initially, shock, trauma, because things are happening that are out of our control, and we are having to become very present and very responsive to our world in a way that is actually quite unfamiliar to us. So I'm going to just to tune in. I'm about to upload later after this reading, I'll be uploading a video that I've made about how to stay emotionally well and healthy. And also on Wednesday, there's going to be a live webinar, in fact two of them. There's Wednesday the 8th and Wednesday the 15th of April. I'm actually going to be reading live from this book, the Mindfulness Meets Emotional Awareness. This book teaches you how to manage your emotions differently, particularly at times of stress and difficulty. And actually just for a little while, well in fact during, not a little while because it may be a long while, we're needing to see where we go with this and respond on a daily basis. I'm also going to be reducing the price. I think I'm able to do that. I will be going on to Amazon a little later, and the books will be sold at pretty much half the price they are now. So do check in with them. But if you're not obliged to buy them, just check in on the live webinars or the recordings of them if emotions are in any way running high for you. So wonderful people, let's tune into the symbols and the energy that is going to be governing the readings today. I'm going to shift the camera down and I will talk you through that. Let me move that book out of the way and move over. So, I was actually drawn to some very powerful archetypal symbols today for the readings. Now, I should also say, guys, not only have I've created a handout. I spoke about this in last week's reading, and I did ask for feedback. Thank you so much, guys. You were amazing. The feedback was fabulous. I love the way that you guys are. I mean, I'm overwhelmed by the support that you send to me, but also totally blown away by the support that you show one another. Your shares, likes, comments, feedback, just responding to each other in such a supportive way. Guys, you are just amazing. And in response to the idea of having an email list to send you the extra information each week around the kind of governing energies for the readings, I've now set that up. And if you check out the information box below, there is a link. If you put yourself onto that email list, I'll give it a few days and then I will email out basically the information, that the research. I tend to go off, and I mean sometimes I will, with a reading, I'll know exactly what I'm tuning into, in which case I will write about it for you. Sometimes I'm guided towards certain symbols and I will go away and do a little bit of research. When I do, I will send you the links and various places you can go to discover more, as well as the information that came through for me. So if you'd like to get that, I'll also, the one that I send out this week, I'll include the information from last week's readings as well. So let's put that over here now. The first reading is governed by the energy of Sirius, the dog star. Now, it's quite interesting that Sirius is a guiding star. It's said that the sun's warmth keeps the physical world alive, but Sirius keeps the spiritual world alive. It's actually 20 times brighter than our sun. It doesn't look like it to us because it's further away, but it's actually 20 times brighter and over twice the size of our sun. It's said to be the sun behind the sun. It brings us spiritual light, and the difference is the sun is bringing us physical life. It supports our physical life. Sirius supports our spiritual life. So a very relevant energy for reading number 1. Reading number 2 is governed by the symbol of the Ankh. Now this is a very powerful symbol. It's an Egyptian hieroglyph, and it symbolizes life. It's like life source. It's sometimes known as the breath of life. Now that I can see why I was drawn to that symbol, because actually it's our lungs that are being attacked at the moment. I think, there's quite a lot of connections. I've been looking and listening to some really interesting videos and interesting comments that people have been making about the fact that the forest, the Amazon forest, is reaching, or has reached, a real tipping point, and that has sometimes been referred to as the lungs of the earth. And the destruction of it has reached a tipping point, and here we are now experiencing a virus that is attacking our lungs. So interesting. I'm seeing a lot of stuff out there that is really bringing stuff to our attention in this way. But this is known as the breath of life. And this symbol validates also that our journey on earth as a human being is part of a bigger lifespan. It's part of a bigger life cycle. It acknowledges that we are, in essence, a soul journeying through a human experience. And from my perspective, when we look at the soul's journey through our human experiences, we've come here to learn. We've come here to overcome difficulties in order to reach higher levels of consciousness, which raise the overall consciousness of humanity at large, the collective soul of consciousness. So that is the energy that is governing reading number 2. The energy for reading number 3 is the goddess Isis. Now, Isis is a goddess of both life and magic, but for me she really embodies the feminine. She was the protector of women and children, and she healed the sick. She is the embodiment of, as I said, the divine feminine, and it's interesting because she's one of the most powerful goddesses of ancient Egypt. In embodying the feminine and standing in a position of power, she is attuned to empathy, to emotionality. We have been living in a very goal-driven, masculine-orientated world, and I'm not speaking of that in a gender-specific way. I'm just talking about the orientation of both the masculine and the feminine, of which we all possess. We all possess those qualities within us. We have been living in a world for a very long time that errs on the masculine, and we are out of balance. And in many ways, learning to respond to our planet, our Mother Earth, is an extremely important part, I think, of the learning that is being brought to us at this moment in time. So reading number 3, governed by the feminine empowerment, the feminine power of empathy, emotionality, and the protector of women and children, and the healing of the sick. So 3 very different energies, and yet all of them very relevant, I think, to now. So wonderful people, I'm going to move into a different space of drawing the cards and the runes. So let's place our governing energies up here. Actually, I'm going to draw the runes first. So we have 3. I'm going to sit them up here underneath the reading, so underneath the energy of Sirius. I'm then going to connect to the energy of Ankh. It's interesting, there are 4 runes coming through for this. It's a little bit different. We normally do 3. But we have 4. Very powerful, very, very powerful energy coming off this reading number 2. Well, I've just noticed my candle's gone out. I was up at the crack of dawn this morning, I have to say, and did a meditation really, really early. It's now quite late, but I needed the meditation very early and to tune in to what I was going to speak about in terms of emotional health, and I will be posting that later. 1, 2, and 3 for Isis. Okay. Let's move those to one side. Now, today we're going to be using 2 different sets of tarot cards, a power animal for each one, a spirit animal guide. Archangel Michael cards and the Art of Manifestation Oracle cards as well. So first of all, I'm just going to cut this 3 times. That's what I'm hearing. That's reading number 1. Let's move these cards down. Reading number 2. And reading number 3. You may find you're already tuning in to one reading more than another, in which case, you know, guys, trust your intuition. We will, of course, sit once the cards are laid out in a space of sort of meditation, I guess, ultimately as well. Actually, I'm just going to actually lay these out as I'm going. This is quite interesting. Remove my candle holder. I may actually relight another one before I begin the actual readings. I always like to have a candle lit, but it does, as I said, I lit that one so early this morning, it was untrue. There we are. That's looking good. Okay, so what are we working with next? I think we are going to work with the tarot, this particular one. Now, I've already shuffled these cards and prepared. Thank you guys as well for those of you that joined for the webinar yesterday, and I put up a different recording of it. Because we had some problems with the sound, the webinar on learning to read the cards and looking at different layouts, because we had some problems, I actually removed it from YouTube, edited out and increased the sound so that people could actually hear it better. Yes. Definitely working in predominantly 3s today. You know, let's reverse. And let's reverse too. Getting quite a lot of reverse cards here today, which is interesting. That would be an interesting webinar in itself, actually, just working with cards in reverse. Okay, guys, wonderful. Now we are going to draw the Art of Manifestation cards. Okay. So we have 3 here. 3 here. Now we're drawing from another tarot. They have kind of come out in quite interesting ways. Wow, very interesting. I should also say, guys, for anyone who is new to my readings, there are always, actually this way up, I always, if any of these cards are speaking to you, if any leap out for you, there is a book and card page on the website, and you can tune in there, log on there, and you will find the cards photographed. So you'll be able to find the ones that you are looking for. quite easily. If you're wanting to kind of find them for yourselves, access them for yourselves. And last but most definitely not least, we are drawing from the Archangel Michael cards. Very, very powerful energy to tune in with at any time if we are stressed, concerned, worried. These were my first ever set of oracle cards. They were a gift, and a profound gift that really saw me through an extremely tough time. I'm going to sit that just there. We're still going to be in camera. Most important that we are. Lovely. Very, very beautiful. There's a very, very amazing energy here. You guys who are watching this part of the reading, you probably tuned into it already. It's quite curious. I'm going to almost say unexpected. I'll move my cards out of the way. Yeah, quite unexpected in some ways, but very... There's a stillness here, but it's a powerful stillness. It's like, I want to say, it's like a force to be reckoned with. That's quite an interesting thing to say, given the current circumstances that we as humanity are in and facing. But yeah, it feels like, but it's like these are a force to be reckoned with. And what I feel is that we get to connect with that force. It's like we get to tune in to that energy. It's almost as though there's a choice to be made. It's like we're being given, we're being given a choice, and it's like we tune in to, we become a part of that universal energy, and it's very powerful, or we can kind of resist it. Make of that what you will, but that's what's coming through. So wonderful people, I am again going to pause the video. I will need to photograph this so that there can be just a little thumbnail for YouTube, and then I will continue and begin the readings. We'll be starting with reading number 1, guided by Sirius, reading number 2, guided by Ankh, reading number 3, guided by Isis. And there will be a period of time. In fact, let's just tune in with that right now. So wonderful people, this is the time when we connect into our intuition. Now, some of you may already know which of these readings you are drawn to. Sometimes we're drawn to more than one, and it's a combination of more than one message that is speaking to us. I have relit our candle, which I like to do when I'm doing the readings, and so we will move now. I will suggest that if you need additional time, just press the pause button and sit with whichever of these readings is calling to you. They will of course be in the Sunday Rune and Card playlist. So again, if you do go to the home channel, if you find later in the week or at a later date you are drawn back to a particular Sunday reading, you will be able to find them in the Sunday Rune and Card playlist, and you'll be able to locate any number of readings if you are looking for guidance in any given moment. Wonderful people, so much love to you all. Namaste. Welcome to reading number 1, wonderful people, governed by the energy of Sirius, the dog star. Really the energy of keeping the spiritual aspects of us illuminated, alive. Now our runes, we have the rune of movement, We have the rune of the blank rune of infinite possibility, and we have the rune of flow. Wow, that's a very powerful collaboration of energy, I want to say. This is stuff moving forwards. Let's bring those down. A little bit more central. We may be able to zoom in depending on how the layout of the cards works, but this is very, very powerful because everything is moving. The rune of movement is the bettering of any situation. So that, under our current circumstances, feels really important. This is a rune of gestation, a rune of something emerging, something happening, new beginnings, new opportunities, new possibilities. And this is the flow of beings into their new form, the ebb and flow of emotions, the ebb and flow of careers, the ebb and flow of relationships. It feels as though things are shifting and moving around you, but it is for the better. It may not feel it though. I sort of feel as though there is this sort of almost like that shifting sands is what's coming to mind. Let's look at all our cards. First of all, let's look at the spirit animal guide. Giraffe spirits see the bigger picture. That's an interesting card to draw because I think I did feel that shifting sands, feeling as though you're not on solid ground. Now, that is understandable for any of us at this moment in time. I think that's a fair comment. But this is suggesting that things are moving forwards for the better for you guys, whoever has been drawn to this reading. This is interesting. Romance angels are helping you. This is about relationships. It's about love. Okay. There's a prayer that comes with this. Dear guardian angels of my soulmate, thank you for preparing my soulmate and me for love, for giving us the motivation to make healthful life changes and for arranging for us to meet. Thank you for helping us recognize each other and have the courage to say hello so that we can eventually delve into a truly intimate relationship. Okay, so we have 3 cards here from a tarot that I haven't used. I don't think I've used them in the Sunday readings before. We have the Sun, we have Son of Swords and Son of Wands. We then have 3 cards from the Thoth pack. Mirror of the Soul. We have the card of Sorrow. This is the 3 of Swords. Something is shifting and moving forwards. You are coming out of something. We have the card of Victory and we have the card of Truce. And then we have Imperfection, Internal Dialogue. I'm going to place this one. Where can I put this so that we have room? If I move everything along a little bit. With the first reading, I never know quite how I'm going to lay them out until the cards start to come out. And then that kind of helps me to know where I am with the next batch, although they sometimes have a mind of their own and work differently. And the webinar that we've just done actually on reading tarot cards and runes was actually focused on different layouts. The Sunday readings for me are a little bit different because I'm very much guided by just the way the cards actually physically come out and just how they begin to just fit together. Okay, so that feels right now for me. The energy feels right. So, okay. The card of the Sun is interesting, particularly connecting in with the energy of Sirius, because the Sun provides us with physical care, with physical warmth, with physical life. It represents source energy. But Sirius is almost like the the sun behind the sun. It's the spiritual power. So it's like we have the Sun and we have Sirius. We have our physical wealth, our physical health is energized, but we also have this spiritual energy coming in. You're coming through something. There's something you're processing. Now, to be honest, for all of us, there is, I think, an aspect of grieving that's taking place right now. It's an integral part of what I would call normal shifts of change, normal shifts in transition. Emotionally, we often feel grief. Things are changing. But it's curious because you are being asked to stand back. It's as though the card of Sorrow sometimes actually says that your perspective of something it's not as bad as you think it is, okay? Now we're facing pretty challenging situations, but this card says actually be mindful not to look through, we can look through rose-coloured glasses We can also look through glasses that are really, really colouring something in a negative way. You are being asked to see the bigger picture. This is connecting very specifically into relationship in some way. I love that we have a card of victory because it means you get centered. It means something moves ahead, some doorway of opportunity opens for you. However, the card of truth says that there's a lot of emotion underneath the surface. There may be a surface calm, but beneath there are a lot of emotions that need to be acknowledged. Now, this is really interesting because we have here, I'll delve into these cards in a moment, but we have here the card of imperfection. In our goal-driven world, we can seek to blame whenever things don't run smoothly. And yet it is our imperfections that make our human lives the perfect vessel for the evolution of the soul. Strive to be the best that you can be. Cherish your mistakes and those of others, and honour the learning to be found in every experience. We then have internal dialogue. We have an internal dialogue within our mind, a constant stream of inner conversation. Is your dialogue kind, supportive and affirming, or is it critical and judgmental of both yourself and others? This card asks you to listen to your inner words and, if necessary, take steps to consciously change your language. Open the floodgates. If we are unable to acknowledge and talk about feelings, they stack up and build up like a pressure cooker waiting to blow, colouring our ability to see clearly. This card calls you to acknowledge your emotions and find a way to release them. Write down your thoughts and feelings, and if needed, reach out for professional help. There's a lot going on under the surface. Now, some people are able to access those emotions, some people are not, and it's not always because we don't want to. Sometimes it's just that life is so busy, everything is moving forwards very, very fast, and it's like our feet aren't touching the ground. I mean, I've noticed with some people, it's almost like we're seeing quite a polarity. For some people, their lives, the speed at which their lives are moving in terms of what they have to do is extraordinary. For others, it's as though life has stopped. So there's quite an interesting division. And I think that's causing a disruption actually within our relationships particularly. See the bigger picture, stand back, do release your emotions and try not to get into a space of internal criticism, because I feel as though there's some sort of internal dialogue that is quite challenging. There's a lot of energy here for you to move forwards into a space of new beginning. There is an ebb and flow of things. I'm hearing like an evaluation going on, and within that evaluation, so actually what I'm hearing are several messages. It may be for some of you there is some discord in a relationship, and part of that is that you've been thrown together, or the circumstances, you've either been thrown together or you've been pushed apart, but the circumstances around are causing a difficulty and a discourse in communication or a disruption, and it's raising a lot of kind of emotions and thinking patterns both. The video that I'm going to be uploading after I've uploaded these readings, I did it early this morning, is all about actually managing our emotional wellness. And I've talked a bit about how our thinking patterns our thinking patterns really do affect the way we feel, and the way we feel affects our thinking patterns. It's like there's a relationship between the two. It's one of the things I will be discussing in those live webinars that are coming up, where I'm reading from Mindfulness meets Emotional Awareness. There's discourse in an existing relationship, and it's been caused by the circumstances. Things are not, the message I'm hearing for that is that things are not as bad as they seem. And you are going to get through this, but there is a need for a release of emotional tension and to move away from that space, this connection between emotions and inner dialogue that create greater challenge for us, creates more and more stress. Part of the opening here, the infinite source of possibilities, is to shift beyond that. This is the rune of movement, the bettering of any situation. For those of you who are looking for a relationship, it's feeling as though that's got put on hold because you can't get out and about in the world. Again, you are being asked to recognize this is not as bad as it seems. Things are going to emerge, and there's also some energy of I'm now going to connect into these two cards here. Son of Swords, Son of Wands. Son of Wands is like, it's somebody who's quite, you see, I feel as though there's choice for some of you. This is someone who is, they're quite adventurous, but they can be, it's got a bit of a, what I would call the Jack the Lad sort of spirit about them, a bit gung-ho. The Son of Swords is a different kind of energy, somebody who's very forceful, very determined, knows what they want. There's an urgency about this card. So, but it's interesting. Now, for some of you, there may be more than one, the energy of more than one person around you. But I actually think the Son of Swords, that energy is you guys. There's a feeling of urgency. It's like you're wanting to move something forwards. You're feeling held back, or your emotions are feeling challenging. Acknowledge your emotions. They're actually quite good information, really. And for those of you that have the sort of Son of Wands energy around you in someone, you may also need to trust your intuition, because the third message that I'm seeing is to do with that there is somebody, so as I said, first one, it's an existing relationship. Second, it's looking for the new, looking to call in a soulmate connection, and feeling as though there are limitations, and there's then an urgency. Gosh, will it ever happen? Or, you know, all that. Again, we're moving into the what if kind of internal dialogue, the negative thinking patterns. But for some of you, the third message is there is somebody already around you, and it's almost as though, because there's quite an appealing energy around them. There's quite a youthful adventurousness. But actually, you are being asked to be discerning, not to rush into this with a sense of urgency because of the current situation. Don't forget, we always should be approaching the beginning of a new relationship with a degree of discernment and taking our time to discover who the person really is. It may be that they really do bring a soulmate connection into your world, but it may also mean, it's interesting, these cards are looking in opposite directions. It may also mean that you are needing to get quite clear, and I think also for some of you there may be a parting with someone, which again is feeling difficult because it feels as though, you know, will we be able to re-establish a new relationship? The situation is altering the way that we are navigating things. And this reading is particularly calling you to stand back, to see the bigger picture, to have the overview, and to see that, and actually, yeah, reach out for help. Know that support and help and guidance is around you. I'm actually going to just read the prayer again for you to conclude this reading. Dear guardian angels of my soulmate, thank you for preparing my soulmate and me for love, for giving us the motivation to make healthful life changes, and for arranging us to meet. Thank you for helping us recognize each other and have the courage to say hello, so that we can eventually delve into a truly intimate relationship. Very much about relationships, energy, source energy, spiritual guidance available to you. There are lots of possibilities here, even though you are feeling a sense of discord or challenge one way or another, in whichever way this reading has been speaking to you. But there is a flow, and you are emerging into a stronger and more knowing, that's what I'm hearing, a more knowing being, and therefore that will create primarily a fundamental difference in terms of how your relationships evolve, you know, beyond this sort of crisis that we are currently in. Wonderful people, namaste, so much love to you all. Welcome to reading number 2, governed by the energy of Ankh. So this is the hieroglyph that symbolizes life, sometimes known as the breath of life. Let's look at our runes. We have the rune of separation. We have the rune of breakthrough. Very powerful runes. We have the rune of opening in reverse. And we have the rune of possessions in reverse. Okay, this is interesting. The rune of separation suggests that you are needing to leave something behind. There's also a gain to be had. It's like there's a breakthrough moment to be had, but I'm seeing some sort of resistance or reticence about it. Not sure what that's about. Also, are you nourishing yourself? There's some aspect of self-care coming through here as well. So let's just look at, so first of all, we have an Archangel Michael card. Pay attention to your dreams with a prayer. Thank you for tucking me into bed tonight and helping me enjoy a wonderfully restful night's sleep. Archangel Michael, I invite you into my dreams as my teacher, guide, and healer. Please allow me to understand, and then you describe your situation on a spiritual level and bring me guidance. We also have then a spirit animal guide. Set healthy boundaries. Yeah, there's something here about self-care going on. Okay, so we have the card. This is interesting. So we have 8 of Swords, 5 of Cups, and Mother of Swords. Our cards here. Authenticity. You are safe now in new love. Okay, this is interesting. Disappointment in reverse, strength, and Ace of Swords. This has got, excuse me, this has got a very interesting energy around it. Do you know, there's something about self-care, there's something about, there's something clinging to you from the past that you're needing to let go of. It's the energy of new love. There's new possibility around you, but the reticence that I'm feeling, you're needing to let go some perspective of the past. Now, for some of you, it is a possibility that you are needing to let go of someone. It's really interesting. There are very clear messages coming through in each of the readings, but there's more than one message in each reading. So the Eight of Swords, it's like you're suspended, you're waiting, or it's almost like a chrysalis that hasn't yet burst forth, but there is some reticence because something has to be let go of in order for you to move forwards. However, this reading also says, the 5 of Cups also says you don't have to make any hasty decisions. Take your time. Whatever's going on, there's an emergence of something. Now, the card of disappointment in reverse is interesting because in its reverse position, for me, this is speaking about a need to understand disappointment as a positive rather than a negative. Okay? Somewhere along the line, whether it is current for you or it is past for you, and that's what I'm seeing. This is these 2 different roads. For some of you, there is someone around you who has disappointed you. Again, very interesting. They're very relationship orientated this week. Someone has disappointed you and it's left its mark. Now, for some of you, there is a need, I think, possibly to genuinely separate from a circumstance. And you're finding it really quite difficult to tolerate where you are. It could be connected to a new person, or it could be connected to an existing relationship or a circumstance. For some of you, there is like this feeling of, I'm having to bide my time, I can't move on, but it's becoming difficult for me. And there's some disappointment, some aspect of history involved somewhere along the line. Now, for some of you, the something you're needing to let go of is actually the fact that you've previously been hurt. And you've therefore almost... it's affected the way that you approach relationships. It's affected your belief in people. And it's almost as though you're anticipating disappointment, or your expectation of disappointment is holding you back from being able to engage in the energy of new love that is around you. The key to this, of course, is setting healthy boundaries. Now, there is a breakthrough period here, suggested here, because the separation, whether it is a separating from a situation or a person, or whether it is a separation from it's like the legacy that a person gave you, the emotional scar tissue that was left behind. There's an opportunity to have a breakthrough point and move through this and beyond it. The Mother of Wands is wonderful. Her energy, she's a vibrant woman. She knows what matters to her. Her family come first. She's protective. She's determined. She understands. She has what I would call the feminine wisdom that comes from the fact that she's overcome trauma and difficulty. So there's a real powerful strength here. Disappointment can genuinely become a strength, okay? And it creates the opportunity for new beginnings. So let me talk to you about disappointment. And in fact, for any of you that are interested in learning more about it, if you connect into my library, you'll find there are some there's actually some videos and information about managing disappointment. It's also something that there's a whole chapter about it in the book Mindfulness Meets Emotional Awareness that I will be speaking and reading from live in the live webinars that are coming up. I'm just going to flick them up on the screen and then we'll move them away. But do check those out, guys, if you're struggling emotionally. But disappointment is an amazing emotion. It's got a duality to it. It can seriously derail us, and it can produce the kind of thinking patterns whereby we think, it'll always happen to me, everything goes wrong, why did I even bother? It's like a pathway to despair. However, if you understand disappointment as a source of evaluation, it becomes a source of empowerment. So it's like, for me, disappointment, it's like I've reached a T-junction or a crossroads, and I need to put the brakes on, I need to pause, and I need to work out which direction I'm going to go in. And if I listen to my disappointment, it's helpful. If I listen to my disappointment, I can decide whether to continue on the same course and give it another go, because I'd like to invest and try and see whether something can be worked through. It might actually be a sufficiently big disappointment for me to recognize I need to draw some healthy boundaries and actually say no to a situation. That is not for me. I need to move on, let it go, walk away, move beyond where I am. So disappointment, as I said, it can mean that we course correct. It can mean we have a complete breakthrough moment and we change direction. We say no, we can move forwards, but we have to understand disappointment as that source of empowerment, because it helps us to evaluate from a position of reality. So it's a very important emotion. It's a very valuable emotion. It is a source of strength, and it creates the opportunity for us to shift and move forwards. If you can understand your disappointment, okay, so bear with me, just check in with the energy for a moment. Just sit with this. I often do this in readings because I love to shift the energy so you can feel what it means when we create some element of transformation from within. So let's shift disappointment to a space of awareness. I think that in turn shifts this rune so that direction becomes available to us. This is this sort of source of life, really. There's something, the breath of life. It's like breathing new life into you. And breathing new life into you, this source of empowerment, allows you to nourish yourself. This is the rune of possessions, which is also the rune of nourishment. It sometimes speaks of unexpected rewards, gains, surprises. Interestingly enough, sometimes opportunities disguised as loss. We're needing to let something go. Authenticity. Hold your head up high, walk tall, and be your authentic self. This card asks you to shed the masks that you believed you were required to wear. Walk to the beat of your own drum. Do not be afraid to shine. In doing so, you give others permission to do the same. You are safe now. This is connected to the past, and for some of you to a situation that you're needing to move through and beyond. You've been through a major ordeal and you've been amazing. You've handled it all, but as a consequence, you've learned to live on high alert, and this needs to change. Your mind needs peace and your body needs to relax and repair. This card brings a message. You are safe now. It is okay to relax. It's like you're in suspended animation. You're afraid of moving forwards. Actually, You can let the past go, you can be you. If anyone around you is not tolerant of that, then however disappointing that may be, you know, sweet peas, they are not for you. So literally, there's something very powerful in the message here. Ask for guidance within your dreams. Set yourself healthy boundaries. Be who you are. This is lovely. Very much an energy of hope here. The energy of new love is around you. Sometimes if we've been hurt within relationship, we retreat afraid of being hurt again. This card brings a clear message, and it's an indication of your readiness to embrace love and begin a new relationship. It is safe to reach out. Really, really wonderful energy here. So wonderful people. So much love to you. Namaste. Keep safe and well. Welcome to reading number 3, governed by the wonderful energy of Isis, the goddess of life and of magic, feminine empowerment, a great healer. So our first rune is the rune of Gateway. So there's evaluation going on. There's the rune of Berkana, the rune of growth, but in reverse. So I'm hearing a need to, I don't know whether it's making a decision in some way. And we have the rune of ice as well, which would suggest, I'm going to say these runes are suggesting that a decision is needing to be made in some way, but you are being asked to take your time to make that decision. It's something isn't moving forwards just yet. And it may be you're needing to see something clearly before you make that decision. So our Archangel Michael card, your children are watched over by angels. This is lovely. Dear guardian angels of my children, born and unborn, thank you for watching over my children and ensuring their happiness and safety. Please guide me so that I know the best ways to be a good parent and role model for my own and other people's children. This is interesting because it's a reading that, of course, Isis is the embodiment of feminine power. She's such a mother energy. She's the protector of women and children and a healer of the sick. So very powerful energy here. Okay, right. So we have 3 of Swords, 2 of Swords, and let's move those along. 3 of Swords, 2 of Swords, and the 4 of Pentacles. Let's have a look here. Collaborate, independence, and the inner critic. That's interesting. We have the cards of... We have the card of the Emperor, we have the Hierophant upside down in reverse, and we have the card of Art upside down in reverse. Trust in divine detours, Coyote Spirit. So life is feeling for you guys. It's not, I want to say it's not running smoothly. That's the indication here. I sort of feel some of you could even be in some process of, or you could already have been prior to this current situation. You may have been in the process of either something like a divorce or a separation where things are having to be navigated, and it's as though decisions have to be made, but everything has been thrown into disarray. The process, I think the process may already have been quite challenging, but nevertheless, it's as though there's some process that's needing to be navigated. Now, for some of you, it may not be family orientated, but I think for some of you it is. Whether it's your immediate family, or it's connected to your children, or it's connected to how children are managed at this time, there's some kind of an element of conflict here, and you are actually being called to collaborate and to work together through this. You're being asked to think beyond the immediacy of, I'm seeing very strongly, it's as though there are children involved here. And interestingly enough, I'm going to say this is a bit I feel like I'm putting myself slightly on the line here, but I'm going to say it because it's a message that I feel is coming through. There's something about children being placed first here, and the divine detour is almost as though this situation is actually going to give you, ironically enough, an opportunity to navigate something differently. you do need to collaborate, and you do need to not be so orientated. There's also, again, there's such different messages coming through in these. So there's a message around the way that children are managed within relationships, particularly if parents are not together. And actually that needs to be navigated very thoughtfully and very creatively. There is a new beginning here, but at the moment it's still in this phase of negotiation. A conflict is needing to be resolved, or it's not even resolved, it's processed in some way. I mean, this is really interesting because there's material gain here in the Four of Pentacles, but there's also an element that comes with this card that says don't try to hold on to something. And again, in relation to young people, you know, they are not, you know, they are little people. They need to be taken into account, that they're not possessions. It's a powerful statement to make, but I'm going to say it because it feels as though there's something of that around for some of you. For others, it's something, there is a decision that needs to be made. It could be connecting to family, but there is, or it could be about you stepping into a space of collaboration. It's like you're relinquishing something of your independence here as well. So this is a kind of one of the other messages, a different message that's coming through. The first one connected to family was very clear. The second is really about collaborating and not becoming an island. You know that saying, no man is an island, no man or woman, in fact. It's understanding that at the moment collaboration is important, and it's one of those amazing lessons that our current circumstances are offering us, that people are really stepping up, and they are reconnecting in their communities, they're reconnecting in families, they're reaching out, they are overcoming issues and seeing beyond those primary issues. And that's again the flavour here. Whatever is going on at the moment, however challenging it is actually offering up an opportunity for us to, you know, put down some of the stuff that maybe, you know, the arguments, the stalemates that previously have just got in the way. This is a card that asks us to step up and become our own hero or heroine. The Hierophant, Chiron, the wounded healer. This is the card I always think of, the counsellor, of the psychotherapist. It's like we travel inwards. We're prepared to actually process something and resolve it. And this card is suggesting you can approach this creatively. And there is a lot of gain to be had here. I always feel when there's a, you know, material gain, sometimes for me the Four of Pentacles is not just about material wealth and possessions. It can be, it can mean with these other cards here that maybe there's some navigation or negotiation around material wealth, resources. But sometimes it literally indicates that we receive some aspect of, you know, maybe again, resources. How do we distribute our resources? There's collaboration needed here. And interdependence. I'm just going to read some of these cards through. First of all, let's, I think we have read this, but let's connect back into this prayer. Dear guardian angels of my children, born and unborn, thank you for watching over my children and ensuring their happiness and safety. Please guide me so that I know the best ways to be a good parent and role model for my own and other people's children. I also would like you to be a role model for your own child, the child within. I am seeing for some of you there is history, the child within. It's like the child you once were learned to be independent at a very, very young age. I've also heard that, I'm hearing that child, there's been a carrying forward of the inner critic, ultra personally critical of yourselves as a form of defense. You know, when we're little, if we are having a very tough time, we learn to almost criticize ourselves. It's like we get in there before anyone else, but it becomes a pattern of defense that initially is a protection, but ultimately it doesn't serve us. It actually starts to limit us, and it stops us from feeling safe and able to really step up and become the fullest and best version of ourselves. This card asks you to transform your inner critic into an inner critique. The realistic appraisal and constructive feedback of a critique will enhance your ability to step into the very best version of yourself. whereas ongoing and persistent criticism will wear you down, eroding your confidence and your belief in your own abilities, and indeed in any form of trust of others. These two cards together are very powerful: collaborate and independence. Sometimes we are called to develop our self-sufficiency, and this can be a valuable road to travel in the discovery of our unique and individual gifts. But this is not the same as trying to do everything yourself all of the time. This is not a time to go it alone. It is time to unite and work with others. Connecting into the Hierophant here as well, Chiron, the wounded healer. You know, counsellors and psychotherapists are renowned for being able to support others in their healing, but not actually attend to the fact that they also have needs. So this is a time for reaching out for you guys. And in fact, I'm going to suggest that it will resolve this conflict, this stalemate. Again, energetically, I quite like to shift cards around. I'm going to read this and I'm going to do something energetically with the cards, and I'd like you to see how that feels. Independence is a wonderful attribute, but if taken to an extreme, it can border on isolation. Sometimes if we've been hurt or let down or trapped in a codependent relationship, we lose faith in others and learn only to rely on ourselves. This card calls you to question this inner belief and to develop healthy, interdependent relationships with an equality of both giving and receiving. And there has never been a better time to step into that right now. There is definitely choices and decisions to be made here. Now, I said energetically I was going to shift something. When we recognize the hurts and we commit to healing ourselves as well as others, the energy of this shifts. Now, that feels different. It also then creates a shift in this conflict. This conflict finds resolution. Okay, it opens the pathway for new possibilities, new creative ways of looking at things. That shifts this energy. We become a more whole and complete and stronger person despite adversity. It means that when we embrace the rune of gateway, the rune of growth becomes a new space of possibility and new beginnings, and that shifts the ice. The ice melts. We create a flow of energy. Now, I don't know if you felt that, but for me, the energy in this reading, since I've shifted that and talked through how we actually step out of that space of defensiveness that we have carried. For some of you guys, it's carried from the past. It goes way, way back. But it's also emerged in a current relationship for some of you, and for some it's a relationship that is it's a relationship that's going through a process of separation, and you're needing to navigate that. But there is opportunity here to do so from a position of nurture, of respect, of that feminine power where we connect emotionally to the things that truly matter to us. So, wonderful people, please be safe and be well. Trust in divine detours. I know that is a challenging thing to say at this moment in time, but we are being presented with so many lessons and so much space for learning, both in the immediacy of our own worlds as well as in the way that we connect to our families, our communities, and to the way that we connect with one another as a global humanity. Wonderful people, namaste. So much love to you all. Stay safe and well.